We got the Varden kit here. Let's get this thing out and let's install it. Everything you need comes inside the box. First thing is I'm going to pull this out. And this is a tube with all the empty Varden sock mesh, and the mounting hardware is all inside this tube. And then this thing also is used as a filler tube to fill your Varden sock with your growing media of your choice, compost, whatever it is that you really want to grow your garden in. So first thing we're going to want to do is take this out of the box. So here we go. This is our wire support panel. The part of the reason why we have them snapped on, the trays snapped on, is so they don't get jumbled up in the box and it ships really nice. But the other is because you're going to need to unsnap them, and then you see how all this works. So we're going to unsnap all the trays. We're going to work with just the bare wire. Each tray has hands that go on the top of the wire and feet that snap underneath. And so what I'm doing is I'm unsnapping those so I can take the tray off. There we go. We have our structural wire that carries all these parts and pieces. And this is what we mount to any wall, whether it's inside or outside. Now, the next thing is we've got instructions are part of the liner of the box. It's also a mounting template. Then it takes you through exactly everything you need to do in order to install this. And I'm going to cut this out. Now it's the exact size of the kit, so you can position it on a wall and get an idea, where you want it. We're going to mount this right here. This is probably just about right there. I'm going to just take a drill bit and drill right through here, just enough to make a mark on the wall behind, and then I'll remove this template and I'll mount the cleats. I think that's about right. And to go ahead and, all right. And we're going to check level on this too. So since this is to scale and it's your actual wire, you can line up on here and see if it's level or not. There we go. I've got this thing level. Pretty easy. X marks the spot. All right, we can take this down. We're going to set this nearby so we can look at the instructions here. We want to go ahead, take this tube, pop open one end, and let's see what's in there. We've got our empty Varden sock mesh, and they're tied on one end, so they're ready to be filled and tied to the other. We've got our 4 mounting cleats. We've got 8 of the screws that are appropriate for attaching to a wood fence. You might need a different fastener if you're attaching it to an interior wall or a masonry wall. You'll have to decide that. And then we've got zip ties in order to complete these Varden sock, and also a couple of ties for the irrigation that's going to go up the side. We've got an oval shaped hole that gives a little bit of room to jockey it around if your hole isn't in exactly the right position, and they're unidirectional. So if you go with a flange out or if you go with a flange in, the wire sits right in here either way, in either orientation. I take one of our fasteners and one cleat. All right, that's perfect. So there's plenty of room in that hole so that when we get the wire on, we can make some minor adjustments, tapping it up and down, in and out, in order to keep everything nice and level. Now we're just going to repeat that process 3 more times so we get all 4 cleats installed, and then we'll hang the wire, and then we'll make some minor adjustments as we tighten the fasteners. Now that we've got the 4 cleats on and they're not tight, the wire needs to be with this horizontal bar out toward you, okay, with the vertical bar behind it. So we've got that out front. The second wire down is where we engage the slots and we drop it in. It's sitting loosely in all of this, okay? So that gives us an opportunity to make sure we check level of the actual wire before we tighten everything. So what I'm going to do is get my handy level here again, and I can see, wow, it is right on the money. You want to have the wire sitting in the throat of the cleat. So if it's hanging down because it's loose, you raise the cleat up to where it's not, and then it's bearing the load on the throat of the cleat. So once we've got it level, we're going to tighten it down. There we are. So now we're ready to go ahead and install the trays. It was fun for me to design these trays to work exactly like they do. The tray has hands and feet. Gauge the hands like this, and you swing it in and snap it. Gauge the hands, and you snap it. So we've got the hands, they come on the wire, and then you see the feet come down, engage, and snap in with a nice sound. And that's the way it all works. There's two ends of this. It's a 5-foot piece, and that should be more than enough. And we put an end cap in here at the top side, and then we've got our fittings that connect to the 1/4-inch drip line. So we've got an end cap on this end and nothing on the other end. So we take the open end and we run it through the hole in the end of the tray, through the next ones, through this one, and then the end cap is hanging out the side here. We do this 6 times, and we've already pre-cut these, pre-measured them. There's nothing to really think about on this at all, just getting them in there. So now we've got all the drip lines in. Come back to our handy supply line. See, we got the fitting here, just press it on. You see the little ridge there? That's what you have to push over. So we're going to push this over that, and you just give it a little wiggle and it kind of goes over. There we go. We've tried to make that as easy as we possibly could with our pre-assembly and our packaging. I like to put a zip tie through and around, and we provide zip ties in the package to do just this. You didn't know you were going to be an irrigation specialist, but you are now. Now, everything is on. On the end of this, we have a hose fitting. So now we've connected it. I want to run the water and make sure that all my connections are good, make sure that the emitters are dripping properly, and really get a good feel for how it puts water in the bottom of the tray, so that you know after you put the Varden sock in and you plant your plants, you don't have to keep checking it saying, oh, is that thing working? It works, and you know it beforehand. See the water sitting right here in the middle of the tray, which is what you want, and that little bit of residual water will be absorbed later by the plants. Yep, everything is working nicely. So now that we've tested the water and we know that if we put a sock in, it works, it's time to fill some sock, and then we can put the sock in the wall. And I'm going to show you how to use this tube to fill your sock with your garden media. I took a zip tie and I turned it into a circle, okay? And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in just a minute. You take the tied end of the Varden sock mesh, you just drop it down in there, take the mesh, and you wrap it around here and leave a couple of inches over the edge. And this is composted garden media right here that I like to use, and I just bucket this in, and as I go along here, I'll stop and just give it a little tap. The Varden sock is an excellent vessel to hold media. This is 0.33 cubic feet of media per Varden sock. And 1 cubic foot bag will fill 3 of these Varden socks. And there's 6 in the kit, so you'd need 2 bags at 1 cubic feet each. So now you pull it out. I push the mesh through. Get it even. And I can go right to the wall. I'll start on the bottom, put it in, I scrunch it from one end to the other. I'm ready to cut some small holes here and introduce either seed or live plugs of garden plants. Now we've got the other 5 made, and let's go ahead and put them in. You want to even them out, make sure you get kind of the same amount of soil from one end to the other. Roll them in because they're round. Very nice. Now the system is ready to plant. I'm not going to plant this on the wall because it's easier for you to see everything right here exposed. What I do is I grab a pinch of the mesh, and underneath it I take the same scissors and I cut a little hole. Push a finger in there and you can put a plug in there, you can put seed in there, whatever you want to do. Plant as far to the end as I can, and then I split to the 1/4 points. That's 5. We tell you that you can put up to 6 plants per row, so you can get up to 36 plants in this vertical garden. And so you would just need to space your holes out appropriately. And it really depends on the size of the plug that you're trying to work with or seed. Now you've got a nice canvas to work with to grow just about anything. We tried to design our Varden vertical garden system so that it's an entry-level product so that everybody that thinks they might want to garden in any kind of space, even no space, can give it a shot and take a whack at it. It's not cost prohibitive, and you get a meaningful plant count, a meaningful production, maybe even year-round with your vertical garden. If you want to bring this inside, we're developing a trim kit that has side pieces, a light, a pump, a basin that'll recirculate water and enables you to have vardening come indoors 12 months out of the year to grow nutritious greens and herbs. That's a wrap. It's time for us to varden, and if you want more information, visit our website at vardening.com.